Shortly after I graduated high school in Winnemucca, Nevada, my family and I moved to Reno, Nevada. Before living in Winnemucca, a medium-sized town with some diversity, I grew up in small towns with predominantly high populations of Caucasians. Reno was the largest city I had ever lived in. I loved it. Reno was a 24-hour town. You could cruise the strip and find fun or trouble, depending on how you look at it, anytime, night or day. By the time I was 19, I had my own apartment and a whole lot of freedom. In school, I was shy and did not do a lot of socializing. When I moved to Reno, I found it easier to loosen up and be more outgoing. By the time I was 20, I had more Hispanic friends than non. Somewhere along the way, I met my late fiancé, Gerardo Gutierrez. Although I had become accustomed to various parts of Hispanic culture through interactions with my friends, when I met Gerardo, I became part of his family. We lived on the fringes because Gerardo was not legal in the U.S., and it was tough, but I truly loved him and would do anything to be with him. Sadly, after only 2 years of being together, Gerardo tragically died. His sister and I kept in contact, but eventually lost touch. I made it through that horrible time in my life and was fortunate to meet my husband, Juan, through a coworker. Juan's family also took me in and made me part of their craziness. They could be considered more of a Mexican-American family where English was spoken more often than Spanish, but other than that, they still had the family values and traditions that I had felt a part of before. Life went on, and Juan and I spent a lot of time with his large family, having cookouts, quinceañeras, baptisms, and all the functions of a community that keeps it strong. I definitely recognized the strong ties that we had and witnessed how the funds of knowledge that those communities held were used to help each other. I felt at home in our community, which was only 30% Hispanic, but it seemed a lot more because of the neighborhood we lived in. I worked as a leasing agent for a large apartment community, so I had a lot of contact with the Hispanic residents. Usually it went well, and every day was more or less uneventful. There were times when I would get frustrated with how some people would rather speak to the assistant manager, who was Hispanic, for little matters rather than speak to me, but I always offered my help and assistance and little working knowledge of Spanish. One day, around the beginning of the month, a Hispanic gentleman came in to pay rent. He had his young daughter, maybe 5 or 6 years old, with him. I was writing the receipt for his payment when something odd happened. The man turns to his child and in Spanish says, "You better behave or she will eat you," and I catch the child glancing at me. I could have pretended like I didn't know what he said. I could have pretended that it didn't bother me, but I didn't. I looked at him in all seriousness and more or less said, "No, I won't. You shouldn't tell your daughter mean things about people. I'm a very nice person." I think he was taken aback by me understanding what he had said, and really had very little comeback after my comment to him. I chose this moment in my life to demonstrate a time when my social identity was challenged. It happened because someone else made a judgment about me based on my appearance. This person probably just saw me as another white girl in the hood, someone apart from his culture that he could pass a snide comment by without anyone taking notice. Perhaps his comment was not completely directed at me as a person, and he only wanted to instill fear in his daughter so she would behave, but I couldn't let that go. As a future educator, I will never let it go. I want to do the exact opposite for the young children I'll be teaching. I want to show how to place value in every person and everything. The value of human beings in the world we inhabit is more than what is on the surface. No matter your ancestry, culture, or skin color, whether you're as small as an ant or a CEO of $1 million company, you have value. And when we teach children to see that value, it is one step towards a brighter future.